Hello everyone, this is LW Gaming and welcome to a brand new installment of Future Langrisser series. Today we're going to be covering the major update for Brightsummoner, the second LLR hero coming to the game. So yep, it's that time again for summoning the LLR character. So yep, we're basically going to be dealing with another limited time character, so yeah, buckle up everyone. And by time recording, today is the 9th of September. This video is planned to release on the 16th of September. And to those of you who are a member of this channel, you get to watch this early as a treat. So, anyways, let's get right into what Bright Summer is all about. And I gotta say, she's gonna have a handful of information we need to talk about. So, without further ado, let's start. So first off, Bright Summoner. She is the second hero being an LR rarity. So that means we have. So that means by this point of this game, there's going to be two RRs we can play with. So we got Icemelda, which is the one I have already, and now pretty soon we'll be having Bright Summoner, which is the new version of Chris. And I believe someone specifically from my guild is in love with Chris, and she's getting some love here in this update. So let's talk about her. So first off, her factions. She's part of Legion of Glory, Princess Alliance, and Mythical Realm. And also, as a bonus, she is a faction buffer for Legion of Glory. So we'll talk about that soon. Anyways, let's talk about her talent really quick. Her talent is Brilliant Sacred Contract. And this one could change in global version, by the way. Anyways, this was pretty straightforward. It's just healing effects increased by 10 to 25%, depending on star level. After healing an ally, this spells one debuff and grants one random buff to a healed ally. So yeah, so that's actually pretty interesting here. So even though it's short and sweet, she's providing buffs and also removing debuffs. So she's more like a support role, but that's not the only role that she's doing. She's also capable of providing offensive support as well. And for class options, she has Holy and Mage. So she's magic oriented unit. So yeah, not so surprising there because you know in the original version of Chris, she does in fact have those magical abilities. So let's talk about that about the unicorns that she comes with because there's two versions of it based on what class you're equipped with. So for instance, if your bright summoner is holy class, you'll get the holy or the shining unicorns. I mean, those ones are more like a support rather than offensive. But you can also do it in both ways. So the shiny unicorn talent is it adds 40% of the increased healing effect to the increased damage effect, and increases Bright Summoner's range by 2. All buffs you receive last plus 1 turn. So she's pretty much becoming a long range attacker with this unicorn active on the map. And this unicorn comes with a skill, three skills specifically. It comes with Miracle, which most healers carry nowadays. Basically, it heals allies for 3 times of heroes int, and also grants them damage dealt plus 15%, and also damage taken reduced by 15%. Yep, pretty straightforward. And then the second one is the unique skill that's on this unicorn, Sanctuary of Glory. And this is a command skill, which will activate at any moment possible. So, anyways, allies within 2 blocks of the Shining Unicorn are immune to Cursive Wounding and Buff Block. After ending action, units' HP is restored equal to 3 times of Unicorn's int, and one random debuff is dispelled. So, yep, this is pretty much a nice thing to have for the Shiny Unicorn. Like, it prevents Cursive Wounding, which is heal reverse, by the way. Or I just say Curse of Wounding because like heal reverse is kind of a different thing but similar. But they word it differently in this game, which is kind of strange. And also on top of that, the enemy your units will not have like a thing that where they cannot receive buffs because this one blocks that, which is pretty awesome. And then finally we have Glorious War Prayer. This is the third skill that the unicorn carries, and this one can be activated in 5 turn cooldown. After 5 turns of cooldown, 3 blocks of range, and also it's a single target. This one is actually the one skill that's very unique. We don't have this skill for I don't know whoever we have in the game already. So this one is unique because you can select an ally and then it copies all the spellable buffs and then turns the allied soldiers into shining unicorns. So you may imagine that these unicorns are going to become the heroes selected as their soldiers. And then all soldier stats except HP plus 10%, and gains immunity to mobility down. When moving, all traversable terrains are treated as planes, and this will last for 3 turns. And it cannot be removed slash dispelled. So yeah, you can imagine this is gonna be really insane. Like basically they'll have a temporary new troop added to their army, and that is within 3 turns. So and also those shiny unicorns treated as a typical unicorns, like you get from like certain heroes getting those, like the ones that changes their movement tied to terrain master. Yeah, this works similarly, but in LR Chris's method, of course. So let's just say, what if you upgrade LR Bright Summer into a different route, like Mage route? Well, you get this one instead, which is the Holy Thunder Unicorn. So, anyways, this one has a different set of talents apart from the shiny unicorn that we just talked about earlier. So let's talk about what this unicorn does. This is more like an offensive oriented thing. The Holy one is like a hybrid. This one's more offensive. So let's see what it does. So when entering combat, attacks first before the enemy. Skills and active attacks from self and the Bright Summoner will cause all blocks hit to receive the special Thunder Seal effect for 2 turns. When an enemy unit ends its action on that special terrain, enemy will receive fixed damage equal to 1 times of the Bright Summoner's int, and the enemy is afflicted with minus defense minus magic defense minus 30%, which lasts for 2 turns. Sorry if I lost my words there, but seriously, like, what the heck is this talent? Like, this talent is really strong in some cases. Well, of course, not too strong, but you get the idea. Like that also, like, and also the point where it says like reduce the magic defense by 30%. Ooh man, good luck surviving magic, like with that. Okay, next up, let's talk about the skills that comes with. It has 3 skills like the other unicorn. So, anyways, the skills that this one comes with is Thunderstorm, which is a typical mage skill that does AoE, 3 turn cooldown, 3 blocks, and 3 blocks AoE. So this attack all enemies within 3 blocks radius, dealing 0.3 times AoE damage. And this is effective against cavalry enemies, which I think all of you already know this by now, but also this inflicts defense minus 20% to all enemies hit for 2 turns. Yep, it's just a common skill, so nothing too special about that one. And then the second one is called Thunder Sanctuary, and this is a passive skill. When actively attacking, cast Lightning Strike on all enemies within the Thunder Seal terrains before entering combat. And what this does is that it reduces the soldier count of those enemies by 2. So that means, like, for example, if they are full HP and they're on your soldiers, they're gonna lose 20% of that. So that is gonna be interesting to see. I mean, we did see this mechanic before, and that was on Demigod's assassin, whatever that was, like the newest assassin that was released on one of those updates. You get the idea, but this is like reverse version of that. That's on the enemy that loses soldiers. But however, if they went to the point where they have no soldiers at all, instead they will receive damage taken plus 20%. So yeah, if you lose all your soldiers while this is happening, yeah, you're not gonna survive the next attack. Just saying, because you're gonna suffer more damage. Last 2 turns, and this deals fixed damage once, equal to 1 time of Unicorn's int. And then finally, the third skill that this unicorn comes with is called Court of Holy Thunder. It's a 2 turn cooldown, 2 blocks, single target, and there's 2 parts of this. So passive is when fighting an enemy while in your own Thunder Seal. All stats except HP plus 20%. That's pretty nice to have as a little boost, or significant boost, depending on how you're going to take it as. And this does magic damage, and it does that to one enemy, dealing 1.2 times damage. If the enemy is standing in your Thunder Seal, the Holy Thunder Unicorn is immune to all damage taken from the enemy. So, as long as you're standing in your own tile of like a Thunder Seal, this unicorn will not take damage no matter what. So yeah, you can imagine this unicorn is not gonna die at all because of the damage immunity. Pretty crazy, not gonna lie. Anyways, we already done with talking about what unicorn does, so now let's talk about her unique skills, shall we? And oh man, this is gonna be a handful as well. So let's see what they are. So 1C skill, which is a contract call. This is the skill that allows you to call your unicorn depending on your hero class, of course. So it summons a unicorn of the hero class to the nearest position within 3 blocks around you. I'm gonna have to reword that in the wiki, the Lang wiki, of course. Your unicorn inherits equipment stats and 90% of the summoner's main attributes. When used, this skill is replaced by recall. So yep. Anyways, the recall right here is an active skill, and you can choose one recall skill. The cooldown of this skill inherits the cooldown of the skill being used. So anyways, the one of them is called Return of the Holy Envoy, which teleports to the unicorn. That teleports yourself. The unicorn can move another 2 blocks and attack again. After using this skill, the number of buffs duration will not lose their turn count. So this is essentially an act again part of this. So yeah, you can imagine that this character is gonna be nuts with this skill. Like think of her like Jace, but more broken. But of course, minus the part of like the ability to guard ignore. She doesn't have that, so thankfully. And the next part is called Return of the Holy and nope, that's the one I already read before. So anyways, Unicorn Return. So this one pretty much does the same thing but opposite. So you teleport a unicorn back to yourself. So like if for example if your unicorn is in danger or whatever, you can teleport the unicorn back to her side. So that's actually pretty nice. So that way you can save your unicorn from them like from dying, of course. And the 2C skill that she has is in fact a fusion power. Yep, and also on the video of like where I covered all about faction buffs, I made a bit of a mistake on there where I covered about Brightsummoner. I only covered her 3C, which I initially thought she's only has 3C skill on there, but nope, turns out she has the 2C skill as well. So we're gonna talk about it here so you'll understand what it is. So the fusion power of 2C, which is the one that you get that like any other player will have. The offensive and defensive capabilities of all Legion of Glory allies on the field will be greatly increased, and also they gain the effect of like damage dealt during combat plus 8%. And also, if you have 5 or more buffs on yourself, the damage will increase by additional 4%, and this will be 4 turns, like most of the fusion power does on the duration. And this does not stack with other fusion powers. So far, even though you don't have her 3C, like for example, players who are below level 70, you are not lucked out by the no faction buffing on Brightsummoner because she does carry her own 2C skill, which is nice to have. But if you're level 70 and you happen to have her 3C available, use that one instead. So I'm going to talk about what her 3C does right now. OD to Light, and it's a 3-turn cooldown, and it's a self-cast, and it's an entire field. So this is a beefed up version of a faction buff, but that's under the passive, by the way. By summoning Unicorn or actively using the skill, all Legion of Glory allies on the field will have their offensive and defensive capabilities greatly increased, and their damage dealt during combat will be increased by 15%. And also when entering combat, they will restore HP to an ally with the lowest HP after combat. The amount of HP restored is 2 times a Brightsummoner's int, and this will last 4 turns. But however, I do heard that some people say that the int calculation is not just on Brightsummoner. It could also be calculated through the unicorns as well, but I might be wrong here. So anyways, I will just say Brightsummoner because that's the straightforward thing to say. And like I said earlier, this is a fusion power. meaning that it does not carry over to other fusion powers, so you cannot stack them whatsoever, even from her other fusion power. So choose one of them at your own pleasure, of course, and your own leisure. So of course, if you have 3C, use that one instead. Don't settle in for 2C because that one is not good. But you only use it if you have no other options. Okay, and then now the active part of this is that the active part of this skill is dependent on what hero class that LR Chris is on. So, for example, if you're a Holy class, this powers up the Shining Unicorn, and if the unicorn doesn't exist, it will be summoned first, so that it can gain Brilliant Grace and Merciful Rain. And what this does is that it basically at the end of the action restore HP to the friendly unit with the lowest HP within 3 blocks around once. Heal equals 2 times of her int, and dispel 1 debuff and applies 1 random strong buff, which is pretty nice to have. And then it repeats again when you have a debuff, repeats again when you have more than 5 buffs. So yeah, so you essentially have a double cast on this skill, which is pretty broken. Not gonna lie. So, if under either of those conditions here, so when you got a debuff on yourself, you get to cast this twice, which is interesting. And also you can also cast this twice if Brightsummoner has 5 of those buffs, like 5 random buffs. Like doesn't matter which one it is. It could be dispellable or undispellable, all that stuff. And this will last 1 turn, by the way. And then restores it restores the cooldown of all skills at the same time, which is interesting. And also, once this is used, this skill becomes a benevolence, which is the typical younger version of Chris's 3C, which is a SR Chris, by the way. And with a passive part preserved, and this will stay there for 3 turns. So yep. So basically, Oldie of Light is like a really strong ability here, and of course, after use, this skill becomes like a typical SR Chris awakening skill, which is something I hardly see nowadays. Pretty nice. But let's just say, what if your Bright Summoner is a mage class? Well, this one serves a similar purpose, but this is different. So, and it strengthens the Holy Thunder Unicorn summoned by you, and when the unicorn does not exist, it will be summoned first. And this one enhances the following use of core of the Holy Thunder. The skill multiplier is increased by 1.5 times. If the target is on the same line, this skill ignores guard. When the enemy is not killed, Bright Summoner can act again, which is nuts. And it restores the cooldown of all its skills, like the unicorn skill, by the way. Once used, this skill is replaced by Benevolence, which is, of course, like I said earlier, SR Chris's Awakening skill. And also have the passive part preserved, and I noticed the words kind of got cut off there because I try to squeeze in as many as possible, but unfortunately, the image is pretty large. But I'm just going to explain what it is. So it's pretty much the same thing as the other one, and this will last for 3 turns. So yeah, that's a long talk there. So anyways, I don't know that was like half of the video already, but let's move on. Let's talk about the banners, shall we? Oh, we added. So first week, of course, Bright Summer will be in the banner lineup for the entire duration of the update, all starting from the September 19th all the way to October 16th. And in week 2, we'll be expecting Jace and JNC coming back as a radar banner. Alongside it, there's a Wish banner for Langrisser 1, 2, and 3 heroes lineup, and oh my, what is this? Well, I'm going to announce that in this major update, they introduced a new type of recurring banner, like the Langrisser 1, 2, and 3, and Langrisser 4 and 5 Wish banners. They introduced Langrisser Mobile 1 and 2 heroes added to the rerun lineup. So yeah, if you need to catch up for the characters that were debuted through the Langrisser Mobile Act 1 and Act 2 of those characters, now's the best time to do so. So we're going to be able to see more Amelias out there, funny enough, and also some other characters like Sissy White, and many more. Yep, all those banners on week 2 will begin on the 26th of September, all the way to October 9th. On week 3, we have yet a radar banner. I'm not sure if this is accurate here because this one also appeared in CN, so I would say it will appear here as well. So week 3, we'll be expecting another radar banner. This will be featuring Nomi and Lightbringer. Alongside it, there's a Destiny banner featuring Azusa, Ally of Genesis, and Theon, as well as the Witch banner for Langrisser 4 and 5, starting on the 3rd of October, all the way to the 16th of October. And finally, the fourth week, we have the Clotaire, Lucretia, and Maya's Destiny banner. Alongside it is the classic Destiny banner featuring Elwyn, Leon, and Bernhardt. And also there's also Awesome banner on there too, which will have all the heroes up until the update of Patricia and Goon. So this banner might actually reorder itself to a different week. So keep that in mind because the banners I receive here might not be the same as what we're getting in global. So keep that in mind. So this will begin on the 10th of October, all the way to the 23rd of October. Anyways, so moving on, we're going to talk about what is going to be happening in this update. So there are not much of a quality of life changes here, but unless I'm missing anything. But however, there are events we need to talk about here. So Forbidden Battleground has returned once again. And also on top of that, the one mode that has rarely got rerun ever since was Skyline Tactics. So yep, this is going to be great for some people, especially those who like Skyline Tactics, because I know that some people like this kind of mode because it's free to play friendly, and also secondly, you can use the units that are given to you without using your own. Pretty nice. Next up, let's talk about the new Confession exclusive. So in this update, we got a new exclusive for Lemia, which is the armor piece, by the way. HP plus 10%. Range of Mysterious Ocean Current is increased by 1 block. When Lemia stands on ally Mystery Ocean Current, it will not be removed when standing on it. When other allies within 2 blocks stand on ally Mysterious Ocean Current, they gain Wave Ride for 1 turn. Pretty solid pretty solid armor that I should be getting in this update. So I would say it's a must-have if you've been using Lemia, but I personally don't use her nowadays, so I think it's an easy skip for me. But if I ever have any plans of using Lemia at some point in the future, I would definitely get her armor. And the new confession for this update is Tabris, or Tabers. How are you going to pronounce her name? But I still couldn't get it. Moving on, let's talk about the new castings coming in this update. So, new casting skills we have Lucretia, Lostum, Luna, and Parn. So let's talk to each of them one by one. So Lucretia's casting pattern skill is increased by 10%, and the swift position skill from Lucretia's Arcane Golem can also be used on allies other than herself. So yep, you could say that Lucretia's Golem is going to be a bit more helpful to get your units around. So for example, if your unit is like in a danger zone, you can get them out there no problem by swapping them out of there. Or if you want to move them closer, you can do that as well. Very nice. Will we be seeing her back in Apex? Probably not, because of I kind of feel people kind of get used to what she does already, but I think she might be of use somewhere in PvP, but at high level, I don't know. I think it might work, but at the same time, they had to worry about the golem not dying, of course. Next up, let's talk about Lostem. So, anyways, his casting is finally getting released in this update. So this one increases his attack and skill by 5%. Before entering combat with Furious Duel skill, which is his 3C, if Lostem is standing on defensive terrain or desert terrain, this attack will ignore guard. So yep, this skill is pretty nuts. So like the 3C, even though it really depends on the situation. So as long as you're standing in a tile that provides defensive bonus, or if you're just in a desert as a whole, you can ignore guard with your 3C. So yeah, back in the day when Awesome 3C was like introduced, it does not guard ignore, which is a bit of a weird thing to happen. But now with this casting, it that fixes the flaw. Well, kind of, as long as you meet certain conditions, of course. Next up is Luna. Luna's casting increases her MDef by 5%. When Luna has the special effect of any fusion powers, damage dealt plus 15%. After using a damage dealing skill, the skill's cooldown is reduced by 2 turns. So yeah, that's pretty nice buff for herself. Last but not least, we have Parn. Parn, I believe a lot of people say that he is the budget version of Leon or the SP Elwin. Either way, he's getting a casting here. So attack and skill plus 5%. At the end of action, if Parn has moved at least 3 or more blocks, Parn will gain rapid advance. So you might wonder, what is rapid advance? Well, this is above that you took damage. So yeah, essentially this casting enables him to get that thing as long as you move far enough. And this will work on either class, like infantry or even cavalry. Honestly, if you want to use him really well, cavalry is the go-to class. And finally, before we close out this episode, let's talk about what is going to be coming after this update. So the next update is going to be featuring the new title and representation, which of course the two heroes from Langrisser Millennium are coming to the game as their first representation in Langrisser Mobile, which I think some people are quite excited about them coming to the game because honestly, there are actually some heroes in Langrisser's history has yet to come to the game itself. And yeah, anyways, hopefully they are good. As far as I've heard, Xion is a bit of a niche based on what I've heard, but he does provide faction buffs, so that's that. So anyways, hope y'all find this video helpful or informative, and I'll see you all next time.